no stardate, still in the 21st century. Welcome to Star Trek Discovery Pod, a sometimes funny and sometimes smart podcast covering all things new and classic Trek. I'm your Romulan ale bribe-taking captain, Myrriah Gossett. With me on the view screen, we have...
your starship throwing co-host Paul Satajit. Close enough.
You got one. You got one, Paul. Clyde is on his way. He will be beaming in here in just a few seconds. Oh, I think I see a Clyde coming in now. There he is. Clyde is here and ready. Apparently there are 4 lights. Clyde, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Good. Tonight, we are talking about Disengage, the second episode of this final season of Picard. Just a few reminders, though, to get us started for those who might be joining us for the first time. Paul, where can people listen to this podcast?
Well, you can listen to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. All links are at StarTrekPod.co. And if you're loving all this content and would like to help us, like maybe consider joining our Patreon for $2, $2, 2 strips of gold press latinum per episode at Patreon at patreon.com/Star Trek Pod. Oh my God, I'm losing it.
You're gonna get there.
I'm high on my pun, and now I'm throwing away everything else. I'm falling apart here.
I missed. He finally got a pun right, and I missed it.
I mean, I don't know if it was a pun. There was a reference to Paul's introduction this time.
that wasn't terrible. Like, I feel like my positronic net is collapsing. There's a cascade failure. That's what's happening already. Anyway.
It happens. It's all good. Yes. So you can listen to this if you're watching us live and you can't sit through the whole thing, or you want to refer us to a friend. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also join us live on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern time for those late night folks. And as Paul said, StarTrekPod.co. Clyde, how can people, if they're watching us on YouTube, interact with us this evening?
They can't.
No interactions allowed tonight? You're cutting them off.
No. 4 lights.
4 lights. Cut you off. Too many weird comments last week. No, we would love for you to interact with us. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, then all you need to do is type capital P, capital O, capital T, capital Pod in the chat, and we will take a look at your comment, your question, your remark. And when we get to that special time that's coming up, you want to let us know what your thought was about this particular episode, just type capital H, capital F, capital HF in the chat, and we will take a look at your thoughts.
Indeed. And I think it might be time for that part of our episodes, y'all. I think it's time for some Hot Freaks.
Hot Freaks! Hot Freaks!
Oh yeah, Hot Freaks time. Paul, what did you think of the episode?
Well, I'm a person who's all things Star Trek. And
What?
And I have to say that I really like things that are constructed well for what they are trying to do. For example, like this season of Picard is obviously prime nostalgia bait, right? And in every little bit of this episode that had the bit of nostalgia was so point. Like for when Worf enters and starts slicing people up, they have that that Star Trek music, dun 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 dun. That variation on it. I'm going
Klingon theme, baby.
Yeah! It was spoiler, Worf shows up. But
what?
Yeah, no. As far as there are some things that I love about the episode. There's some things that I go might have been a little easier than I would like it to be, but we get that into it. But my hot freak is loving the nostalgia bait.
All right, Clyde, thoughts?
In a nutshell, I'm just trying to be Michael Dorn in my golden years. Like that's what I'm trying to strive for. I want an entrance like that. Maybe not with all the killing, but with that same type of gravitas. No, I thought this was a really good episode. I thought the first episode was interesting. It felt a bit like a setup. I ultimately think that it's better to watch these two together, like on a rewatch. It just flows. I'm a little curious why they just didn't do a 2-hour season premiere, because this felt like I felt like I was waiting to figure out what happens, and this delivered. Lots of action. I mean, again, I keep saying this. Not a huge fan of the Rafi storyline, but the way they've interwoven Worf, and to Paul's point, bringing some of that nostalgia feels like it anchors it a little bit for me. And I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. Yeah, overall, I think we got some questions answered. Spoiler alert: it's his kid. We
You
said it
are
last week.
Father Jean-Luc Picard.
Yes. Yeah, and I'll say this. I think one of my favorite things is the way Riker handled the situation.
Mm.
Like, he just kept saying,
Like, dude.
"Do you see what I see?" Not like, "Hey," it's almost like he wants to, "Hey, dude, you know that's your baby, right? You know this. You know that's the baby's yours, right? We don't need Jerry Springer or anything,
Yeah.
or Maury Povich. The baby's yours." But he handled it well, and so I thought it was a pretty good episode. Like, all things considered, this was a really good episode.
Yeah, I think much like some of the other seasons of Picard, I agree with you, Clyde. I think this is going to be a better binge, because honestly, when this episode stopped, I was like, oh, this felt like a mid-act break for me. Like, I was ready for the next act of this episode, and it wasn't there. I also agree. I feel like Rafi's storyline, it feels like they're trying to do the campiness that I love of some Trek, but it's just not landing in the right way. And I don't know why. It doesn't help that poor Michelle Hurd is literally acting against a green screen. Like, there's no one there for her to do anything with for a lot of her scenes. I mean, the high points for me were Worf entrances and the introduction of our villain, the twirliest of mustachy villains I have seen in a long time. Who smokes weird cigars with a badass lighter. And I am ready to watch weird Amanda Plummer just tear up this screen.
They should have started with her in season 1.
Ooh, she is
like
good. I am here
she
for
really
it.
is. And look, I agree with you, Myrriah. You know, thinking about Captain Vadic, when it ended, I was like, I need more. Like, it did feel like almost like an intermission in a movie. Like, what's like I want to keep going, especially because we really just got to see her like start to find her groove a little bit.
The beginning of the chase, right? It's like, follow that cab, and then I was like, I'm ready to follow that cab, and that's where the episode ended.
Well, my response is like, are you tuning in next week? Yeah, you are. Yes. So like,
yes,
from that perspective, it's perfectly crafted, because you gotta see what's happening.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. That only works in this day and age. That only works so long, because I'm now waiting, and you're giving me 7 days to get distracted by something else.
I mean, but that's, I don't know. I have like, there's the thing about all of us watching it at the same time, you know, that I do enjoy the community, the water cooler aspects of this, right? It's the same thing. I feel like the conversations we all have that are watching The Last of Us on Sundays, the same that was happening during White Lotus and all the other prestige Sunday night HBO content that we all seem to watch. You know, back when like Mad Men came on each week.
Well, Myrriah, I mean, look, for us, it's super helpful, because, you know, our beloved fearless leader, Mike, he's tried a number of podcasts with shows that were on Netflix. Like, he did a whole Marvel like podcast series, and it was always really hard when the entire season is dumped at once. It's like, how do you, like, it's tricky. Like, we get to go, we all watched it today. We're all going to talk about it today. We've got people in the chat. That is a great experience. When it's all dropped in, it's a different experience, and we get there. But I also, on the other hand, feel like I felt like I was broken up in the middle of a story. But I want to say, like, Vadic is just amazing. And I'm spending all day trying to figure out, because everybody's like, Vadic is the best villain. Vadic is the best villain, and I really want to know, well, why. And so I was really been thinking most of the day, what is about this character that I'm drawn to? And I realized that for so many villains, they're this pure evil, kind of just narcissistic, like villain that you're just like, okay, like I'm already
Clyde,
rooting for
I'm
you.
right here. I'm literally sitting right here. That's
I
not
was
cool,
gonna
man.
say we
Not
don't
cool.
we
But-
don't know her motivations yet, which I think is what makes her exciting right now.
Well, no, I think that's it. I think it's the excitement. Like, she brings this energy that we haven't seen before. Like, she's just like, oh, 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 get him. Like,
Yeah.
she's so excited about the chase. How do you not get excited with her?
Right. And like the gravitas to be like, I'm gonna lower my shield so you can see everything I will destroy you with stuff loaded that you don't even know what it is yet. That's how terrifying I am.
I think this is why I like lore and why Vadic, like because they're just so good, Clyde. And here's the reason: because they have fun. In my opinion,
Lore has fun.
Like the best villains, like Khan, like they're salivating.
They're twirling mustaches. They're evil giggling. Like
Yeah, like they're gonna do bad, and they're salivating on how this is gonna taste so good as I beat you up. Like like they're all.
I see where you're going. Here's where I'm going to part from that just slightly. Khan and Lore are insecure and angry about something. Their villainy comes from the sense of hurt, from betrayal, from a lack. Vadic seems real secure in her spot. Like she's got this lean backness. Like,
mhm. I mean, I wanted to ask y'all. So in the beginning of the episode, when the inspectors are coming on to the Crusher ship, they refer to her, I'm assuming it's her, as the marked lady, because she does have these two kind of tear like scars running down her face. And I was like, I wonder what the significance of the marked lady might be. And in entertainment, it is an old movie. And it stars, oh my gosh. It's like I just looked this up and now it's going to leave my head. It's a Betty Davis movie about a witness of a murder at like a nightclub, and like it's like, like a courtroom sort of drama thing. And so I was like, we do love a courtroom drama in a Trek sphere, but Vedic doesn't feel like there's any connection there whatsoever. So when I Googled it, I was like, I don't think this is where it's coming from, but it's just interesting to me that I don't know. I'm like, I wonder what the marked lady has to do with, like, they're adding a lot of symbolism to this character. So that's why I'm like, I want to know what all of this is leading to.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like very arch to me, like like in a good way, in the best way, where you're like you want good versus evil kind of thing. Like she sits like in her chair, and I don't know if you guys remember old school Battlestar Galactica, but like I don't know. Yes, Clyde, but Myrriah may not.
Wait, like the original Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah, the
or
original.
I have
original.
watched a few episodes of the original.
So like there was this iconic chair that Boltar or any of the bad head Cylons sat on. It looks like a throne, but and she feels like she's in that kind of throne as opposed to like a captain's chair. Like she looks, everything about her says, I'm a bad guy.
Yeah. I don't know if did y'all watch the Ready Room this week?
I did not.
With it. So they had a small like BTS with Amanda Plummer talking about it. And she's like perched in like her set chair in this like very like I don't know how to properly sit in a chair way. And then she was just like, I don't know if she like sits into a character for a while and it takes like what her process is as an actor. But it was so interesting to watch her body language out of the Vedic like makeup
lens. Yeah.
And but was just like, they made me, or she's just like, everyone should go watch it. It's really interesting because she's just like, they made me a really nice chair. It had a lot of room to play in. And I was just like, I'm into how much you love your chair. Like, this is great.
Okay, this I was worried about what we were going to talk about in this episode because I was like, and now I'm like, I can't wait to talk about all of it. So,
I mean, to that point though, Clyde, like I think part of the reason I felt like this episode needed to continue was like we didn't move that far forward. You know what I mean? Like plot wise, exactly. Like we had moments happen, but I think they were all moments we all knew were going to happen.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I meant. Like typically when we talk about an episode of Trek, there's a number of plot points. There's a lot of things that happen and we kind of take them like scene by scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like this felt fast. Like it felt really quick. So it's like, oh man. So I say, I love it. Like, oh, we've got a couple quick reveals. But as we break it down, there's so many little nuances that we can discuss. That's what I was worried about. It's like, it just moved. I felt like this one moved pretty quickly in terms of where we started. Because it's like they only moved, like the ship barely moved.
We literally didn't move the ship, but
and basically it's an hour like of screen, not just screen time, but like of movie time. It's like, like Vatic going, you have an hour, and at the end, here's the end of the hour. Like nothing moves so it's literally an hour. So like if it feels like not a lot happened, it's because
episode of 24. Yeah,
exactly. This is episode 24.
It truly was like movie time was real time. There's 10 episodes this season, I think. I'll double check.
10?
I think only 10. So yes, I'm pretty sure there's only 10 episodes. So like we got some moving and grooving to do. But I wanted to bring up Choopy brought this up. Shaw looked terrified when she started talking about his psych profile. And to me, that was one of the most interesting details of the whole episode because there's been a lot of hate for Shaw online. I find Shaw to be a very
and right here. There's a lot of hate for him right here.
Honestly, after this episode, I'm into Captain Shaw.
See?
Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
Like all I can say is like he makes some strong points. Like you risk 2 of your friends for 500 of our crew. Like that's
I was like, I can see all of this, and then I think he, from like a writerly show standpoint, I think he drops some really fun comedic one-liners that help lighten a lot of stuff up. And I just find his dynamic with Seven to be wonderful because he is so by the book, but obviously there's some darkness underneath there that we're getting like breadcrumbed at this moment. And so I'm going to be really interested what drives his need to be so by the book. Yeah.
March says Shaw has potential. I would agree with that. He has a potential to be a clown, to be a perfect bozo. My
phasers fire.
My issue with Shaw is I do find him funny at times, and I do find him to be this interesting plot device because he kind of represents what any normal person who is not a fan of Trek would be thinking or reacting in this situation, right? To your point, why risk the lives of 500 for 2? We know, right, through seasons after decades, that at the end of the day, when these 2 go on a journey, they haven't been wrong about it. Yeah, the fate of the galaxy being at stake. So I look at this and because at this point he's just an obstacle to saving the galaxy, right? To saving the universe. That's how I look at it.
I don't know, man. Like I remember that one time that Picard like almost destroyed the universe. Remember that?
Almost, but he didn't. Count that up. How many times has he actually saved the universe? That's what I'm just saying. Like he's always saving this thing. He gets some mulligans.
I wanted to I wanted to talk about one of the things I really liked in last episode and this one is the world building of District 6 and sort of this like I like seeing some of the seedy underbelly. I really enjoyed I enjoyed Sneed, our Ferengi
Yeah.
like mob boss character with his prison face tattoos. I thought that was like Ferengis to me will always be campy on screen because of the way that they're constantly depicted and then how they've chosen to work within the canon of Ferengi for the most part. I'll say Deep Space Nine challenges a lot of that, but this to me was like that perfect lower decks Ferengi moment. This felt like a lower decky scene, and I think that's why I liked it.
Well, Myrriah, let me ask you this. In this episode alone, we see a number of chopped off heads.
True.
That's a little bit different, a little darker for
I mean, it feels like that
Trek.
the discovery moment, right? Do you remember like in season 1 when we go on that ship and there's all the dismembered bodies and we're just like, oh, this is Trek of now. And I feel like this was their like it's in this universe too. And I know I mean I've seen some comments here in the chat as well as I saw online, like so many people have been waiting to watch Worf decapitate someone for decades. And they finally got it with his Kurleth.
Yeah, like I actually felt like Sneed was a very like the most grounded Ferengi portrayal of a Ferengi that I've ever seen.
That's what I mean. It was camp but grounded. Like I understood this character and his motivations.
I really liked him. You know, the short time he was on screen. And the idea of like, oh, I like old things. Like, you know.
Do you think that was Cisco's baseball?
I hope so. I hope so. But
I
like,
missed that.
Because like Cisco, like, you know, Cisco's with the Prophets right now. It would not be surprising if someone just snaked, you know, that baseball off like Kira's desk. You know.
Yeah, I mean, we did just see it I don't know. I guess I'm assuming it's in Lower Decks. Kira is tossing a baseball up and down in her hand in one scene, but it's hard to tell animated to IRL if that is Cisco's baseball. But I enjoyed the nod. There was also a Mugatu horns. I don't know if y'all caught that, but from our Lower Decks, the Ferengi who like to smuggle Mugatu horns. And I was like, these set designers had a blast.
No, it was great. Like, you know, I liked his interaction. That's probably my favorite Ralphie interaction this season with Sneed.
What did you think of this I think the other thing that isn't serving Ralphie's storyline particularly well is the need for a lot of exposition dumps in her scenes in order to move anything forward in that B plot.
It's thankless.
She's really doing the Lord's work of moving us forward to eventually connect these two at some point, I'm assuming. But we got an ex-husband reveal quickly in a back alley meeting, like a reminder of her son and it was like, oh, we're going to just like quickly jump over all of this familial trauma for this character to move this plot forward.
I've watched it twice now, and my thought both times has been the same. Like, what? That like almost got whiplash from how fast that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, like I look at it and like she's always been a person who like mission first. Like, you know, like she's always been that person. So I think showing her that, like, you know, if it's between family and mission, I pick mission. You know, I think that shows who she is in a way that is. I think a lot of times the way it should be, like she would be a good Section 31 operative. Like, you know, I think she would be. Her talents are wasted.
Yeah, for Michelle Hurd's sake, I hope they like spin her off into Section 31 in some way, because I think she is. I think Rafi is such an interesting character, and I wish she didn't get reliquated to this like weird B plot so that we can have the Avengers assemble of the old cast, which I know it's going to be good when it happens, but I'm just like, it's a sad disservice to a character I've grown to really like.
Yeah, I think maybe that's my struggle, is that she has been dumped into this kind of at least the second season in a row, this campy kind of B plot where she's always angry. And I'm just like, the character and the actress herself are capable of so much more, right? Like there's so much more you could do with Rafi. And I just don't know if we've ever really found a true niche for her kind of in the group. Where she stands up, like the way TNG did with really with like Data, right? Like finding an identity, being a critical part, but maybe not always having the storyline revolve around them, or just I'm waiting for that. I am waiting for that, but
yeah. I am excited about, I think, next episode, now that we finally have her tied to one of the original cast members in plot now, that it's going to get better. Also, I think I'm just really excited to see Michelle Hurd and Michael Dorn have scenes together, because they are both really strong and great actors. And so I think there's going to be a lot of potential for things to get better for Rafi's storyline. That, and there's the mention of the mysterious weapon on
Strike.
On the strike. So I was just like, I wonder if that's going to help us connect all these pieces a little bit faster. A fun fact is Sneed is played by Aaron Stanford in this episode, who was the lead on 12 Monkeys, which is Terry Metallis's his show from the Sci-Fi, and apparently Splinter, which was the name they used for the drug that Rafi injects into her eyeballs, was the name of the time travel tech from 12 Monkeys. So they're having a lot of fun in that writer's room.
Gotcha.
Putting stuff everywhere. Because
Myrriah, it looks like we got a lot of hate for Jay in the chat. Nobody likes Jay.
I don't
Team
know,
Rafi, no one's feeling Jay.
like Jay seems like
except for
a
Paul.
normal.
Paul's gonna come to his defense.
I'm just saying, like, here's this dude who's picked family over mission. Is that a bad thing? Because Picard does it at the end.
I mean, I think here's the thing. I think everybody picks mission over family in the history of Trek, right? Like we don't see a whole lot.
What happens when your family is the mission?
Then it makes it easy for you to focus on family for that episode, or
it's
that
starting
arc.
to feel like a Fast and the Furious movie in here. It's all about family.
Yes,
that's right.
1/4 light year at a time.
I was trying to think I guess, we have to talk about the biggest elephant in the room, which is we confirm Picard has a son. He's apparently, based on timeline, 22, 23 years old. My biggest question, and I saw someone tweet this as a joke, and I think it's hilarious I think both hilarious and fun that Terry Metallis responds to a bunch of people's questions about these episodes on Twitter. I was like, bless you for taking this time to answer these people's trolley questions. Because someone said, how is Jack Crusher's is the Britishness so strong in the DNA of Captain Picard that it translates into a British child?
I mean,
it's what it is. It's what it is. Hopefully they'll address it. Hopefully,
but he said, no, it's not that. Just watch. That's all he said. So I'm assuming they're going to address it. He probably went to like a British preparatory school is my guess, but
I have to admit that. So there are two things about this that I thought about. One is I've seen a lot of titles and references to Jean-Luc Picard over the years. Admiral, captain, my captain, leader, friend. Baby daddy was never on, like, in the realm of things that I would think about in terms of Captain Picard. So that's a new one. And then going back to Vadic a little bit, the way Vadic says his name is like Captain Picard.
Like a
Picard.
really bad French accent. Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, like, are people in France watching Star Trek and going, these Americans and the way they pronounce his name is driving me nuts?
I mean, probably. Yeah, that would be
But it's French of the future.
French of the future.
French of the future.
That's true. What do you think? So they've tried to explain a little bit of Jack's background. He's essentially like, I'm a Doctors Without Borders, but I break the rules, but I only break the rules to help make the world a better place. It's very like I am the Han Solo-esque of this world, right? Like I feel like they've given him a lot of that dress, that kind of I'm charming, that whole introductory scene of him with the inspectors was like very wink wink nudge nudge.
He may be a lot of things. Han Solo, I mean,
I feel like in dress.
knockoff dime store version of like Han Solo. I think we're all struggling with him right now. I feel like I'm supposed to want to be awed and inspired by him. Like it's almost like they've given me this Kelvin Chris Klein version of like James Kirk. Like I remember what it was like to see this Kelvin version of Kirk for the first time, which felt nothing like Shatner, and I was coming to terms with it. But I was like, yo, I rock with this. This is very different than what I was expecting, but it works. And I felt like I'm supposed to feel that way about Jack Crusher, and I'm just not. Like I'm just like, okay, low key. I like the story, but this character's kind of annoying right now.
Oh, really? I find him very charming.
Really? Am I
Really?
okay? Maybe I'm alone.
Really. I do not find him charming. I do not find him like annoying. I feel like he feels like a kid to me. Like he feels young.
Him and I are the same age, by the way.
Oh well, like there you go, Myrriah.
Can I play 20?
Yeah, that's right. I do feel that like it would seem that Beverly and Jack have lived on the edge of Federation, utopia for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like that's their thing now that they ghosted the whole, that Beverly ghosted the whole crew. And I have to say that like living outside of the Federation, it's going to be a little different. Like, like Picard, all these people, they have the privilege of like living in like a place where all your needs are met. There's no need for money. Is it a wonder that here are these people who are trying to do good have to like bend the rules a little bit and perhaps be a bit of a jerk? Like, I'm not defending Jack. There is like, that try hard roguishness about him where I go like, no, you're not Solo, but you're a kid. It's like when Shia LaBeouf grabbed the the Indy's hat in like Indy 4. And
I don't
like,
know what you're talking about.
Exactly. See,
Talking about a bad movie.
Yeah.
I don't acknowledge his
That's right.
Thank
That's
you.
right. That's
Thank
right.
you,
That's
Myrriah.
right.
Thank
That's
you.
right. Only I can see the
Yeah, you can see whatever you're talking about.
yeah. but like these characters are I'm not trying to give too much gravitas. I'm just saying like they're living in the reality that they have to live in. Like
Right.
If Wesley if Beverly and Jack were living on the frontier, basically, this is who Jack would be. This is who Jean-Luc Picard would be if he had to live in the frontier.
The other thing is I wish in that flashback to the 2 weeks prior, we got to see Jack and Beverly interacting in some way. Because right
100%.
now I have no idea of their relationship beyond this. I'm protecting you, you're protecting me. We've never
100%.
actually even seen them in the same room together at this point.
Right.
100%. I feel like the flashback was, I don't want to say lazy, but like it didn't. You could have done more with it. Like all is like it just seemed like a showcase for like, oh, here's my fast talkingness,
Yeah.
and that just seemed like
You know who? It's not Han Solo. He reminds me of Star-Lord. Chris Pratt Star
Okay.
Lord.
Now that I might be. So there's a lot of people. So we've got a lot of. So we've said Star Lord, Choopy saying Dollar RL, Marge is saying Rios, and I'm like, definitely not Rios. I immediately liked Rios from the moment he was on screen. I was like, that dude is the coolest dude. Like he's on the short list of coolest Star Trek characters ever.
I know.
Rios is.
You're like,
I was
give me
like-
more.
He's,
That is a Paul opinion.
but I love what you said, because I was like, I don't really feel Dar RL, because I felt like Dar really was young. Like I was annoyed because he couldn't help it that he was young. He was so inexperienced. This is a little bit different. But Star Lord, Myrriah, talk more about that, because that feels.
I mean, I feel like they're even trying to play that in. Like our introduction to him is he's playing like old 70s, like early 80s rock music. You know, it's like that era, and then he's wearing the leather jacket and he's got like his swoopy hair. And then he's like, I'm gonna be charming with my like fast talking ways, but I have a good heart, you know, very that vibe. So far is what I'm getting.
Yeah, like I like that. That was a really good one, Myrriah. I gotta give you.
Clyde, do you like Star Lord?
I'm
My
a
problem
little
is
split.
now Chris Pratt has ruined Star Lord for me, but
I think Star Lord is one of those things where I'm like, okay, I can appreciate you, but I don't love you. Like yeah, like that works. Like I'm never gonna be like, you know who I love? I can't wait for Star Lord to be on screen. That's not gonna happen. However, what I have noticed with Star Lord in particular is there's been a maturation process that, you know, with and I find that with most Chris Pratt story like characters, like early on I'm like, oh my goodness, and then eventually they mature and I'm like, oh, this character is likable. I'm hoping I see that with Crusher, with Jack.
I was going to ask y'all a question and then it left my mind. Any theories on what he could have? So all of this discussion of Jack Crusher started with, what do we think he could have possibly done with the information we have now? That beyond this, it's obviously not money that Vedic is interested in. What do you think she is ultimately interested in here? What is his motivation? Because it's take him alive, which I thought was a key indicator here of, was her goal truly to get him, or was it to get him to get to someone else? Like, is this a plot line to try to get something from Beverly? Is this something like, is there an issue with her, an issue with Picard? Like what is the possibility here?
Well, I mean, all four. So Jack, Picard, Riker, and Beverly were all on the ship. The only one they were interested in was him. And so I feel like there's something in him. And it's interesting because if you wanted him to get to Picard, well, great, but now you have Picard, right? And Picard doesn't even know of his existence. So it's all fascinating. I wonder if there's something, I'm trying to figure out, is there something about him?
Right.
Or is there something that he's done?
Like, is he a clone? Is he lore?
Thank you, Myrriah. I exist. I am here. You know, like, you know, I'm an exobot. I'm peanut hamper. You know, like,
oh, I was really hoping we were gonna go an episode without mentioning the PH word.
Chiefy asked an interesting question. The way she said, I honor my terms, like maybe she thinks Picard doesn't honor something. So is there, y'all have probably a better depth of knowledge of next gen. Is there a time where maybe Picard did not honor his terms of an agreement that could warrant someone wanting revenge?
No, Picard is like known for his like rigidness. Like, you know, he's not. I don't think so. I think it's ultimately just that she's just emphasizing, like, you know, her power position. Like, basically, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna cheat you, but like you have 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Like she's just like she's just trying to reassure them. I think she did throw a starship at them. So
Yeah. I wonder too if she perhaps thinks by letting them go and doing the chase that she'll get to something that she wants ultimately. That's maybe not even on that ship, but
see, like when you say that, and she talks about her ship being called the Shrike and how it's a bird and blah blah blah,
and
and
it
like
slowly takes something from you over time until you can't recognize it anymore or whatever.
so the Shrike is a type of bird. It's also in like a book series called Hyperion, but like what the Shrike does that is really interesting is basically depending on whether it eats insects or mammals, it basically throws the animal onto like thorns and branches, impales them onto
Wild.
these things, and then just like eats a little, and then comes back when it wants a snack. So like it's like really just when it says methodical and pecking, like it's like like it's brutal, right? It's cruel.
Yeah, I was like, I just did a Google image search. Don't recommend it.
Nope. It's called the butcher bird.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there are a bunch of shrikes around the world, but like this is what the one in Canada is the butcher bird, right? Like it just it's pretty interesting. So like and so when I look at this, like when they're headed toward Nebula and she's all excited, I feel like she just wants to play. She wants an excuse to like to really fuck people up.
Well, I agree. I'm gonna say it now. I agree with you, Paul.
What?
And
I'm sorry.
Someone write it down.
Time. Everyone's the time. There's time.
Seminal moment.
That's right.
No, I think, but in addition to that, I think kind of with that pecking, I think she wants to break them down. Like she knows they're gonna run. She knows what they're gonna do. She clearly knows so much about this crew, right?
Right. Like she
hasn't
I
been
know
surprised once. Yeah.
that Shaw has a psych background. Like there's something in his psych. She knows everybody's business.
Mm-hmm.
So like, where did she come from? Is she previously Starfleet and has access to a bunch of stuff? Who knows?
Yeah, and so I think ultimately maybe her plan is they're gonna run, and we're just gonna we've got a much bigger ship, and this isn't gonna go the way it's gone in the past where you get really cute. We're gonna keep pecking at you. We're gonna pull you apart. I mean, she literally threw a ship at them. We haven't seen that before, and so I think at some point the idea is to break them down. Maybe not that they give up, but when you have them in a state of just like broken will, then she can extract what it is she wants from them, whatever that may be.
I mean, like the word for this, she's sadistic. And they're sadistic. Like the Borg do the same thing, right? They just chase you down and then start carving you up and like chase you down. Remember that episode where like we saw a bunch of parallel Enterprises, and you have the one where Riker comes back and goes like, "Don't send us back, the Borg are everywhere." Do you remember that episode? Like and so like that's what the Borg do, right? But the Borg are not sadistic about it. They're not enjoying it. They just this is what I do. Where she is like, "Oh yay, I get to play, I get to like slice you up."
Yeah, it is giving like very Wrath of Khan vibes, right? Where we at least know we knew the motivation for Khan early on, and we don't quite know it for Shaw yet, but I do get a similar villain vibe to
you mean Vedic or Shaw? Because Shaw's my hero.
Sorry, yeah, it's the Strike and Shaw. I was like, there's too many S things there for me to choose from. But yeah, I'm into Vedic. I'm ready to see her in all of her twirly mustache villainous glory.
No, like I'm really like, this is episode 2, and like if there are only 10 episodes, like there's still trailers promise like Lore, Jodie, like Moriarty, like like how are we gonna get all these people in? I like we're on the edge of Federation space in a nebula. How am I gonna get all? So yeah, it's all very interesting to me.
Yeah, there's 10 episodes. The next 2 are directed by Frakes. Next week's is entitled 17 Seconds is the title for next week. Interesting.
Sure.
And then after that is No Win Scenario. And then it's Imposter, and then Bounty, and then TBA on the rest of the titles. But the last 2 episodes are directed by Terry Metalis. So definitely our finale there.
But I think that would be a great idea.
So for the listeners, it says
yes.
Paul's Dream Show is a Shaw lore buddy road trip comedy.
I think that would be great. I don't know what Star Trek fan wouldn't watch that.
This one right here.
Alana says, Pod, he didn't honor his terms with Moriarty. So is there something there? I was going to say way earlier in the chat, I was trying to find it, but someone mentioned, I think it's a theory from our friends over at Strange New Pod. Someone came over from their stream to our stream, talking about there's a theory that Vedic is a hologram.
Interesting. That maybe, like, to be fair to, like, Picard and Moriarty bit, like, Picard said, hey, we'll study, like, how to get you off the the holodeck. They didn't have the tech for that because it's impossible at their current, at their time. But once Voyager gets back, it can, but, like, but it's impossible. And then Moriarty, like, decided, like, well, I'm not blow up the ship. I'm gonna just let the ship get destroyed. So, like, the terms of the agreement were already changed. Like, so Picard and Picard gave him a good life. Like, he's in some like mini holodeck. Like in that active memory thingamajigger. So he's doing fine.
Jeremy Brown says his hot freak is the stolen tech from Daystrom is lore.
Well, we've seen the like mining tunneling action happen already. So.
Well, I think we've seen like that portal.
Yeah, it's possible that Lore is the one who's pushing the button, as Rafi kept saying, that we know that whatever throwaway villain whose head we saw.
What if Vadic works for Lore?
That would be interesting.
Like, Clyde don't like that.
But I do wonder, like, I'm trying to figure out in our timeline of events, right? Like, seemingly this bounty on, like, something about Jack happened prior to this 2 weeks, right? Because the marked lady has been looking for this person.
Sure.
And now that he's been discovered, that's what set, like, everything in motion. So it has to have come from prior to these weapons being stolen, I believe, if the timeline's correct.
Do we know when the weapons were stolen? Like, when do we meet Rafi? Like, has it been a week, a day, a month since the weapons have been stolen? I don't know. I'm asking.
I would have to double check, but I feel like within this 2-week time frame is when these weapons were stolen.
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Seemingly. I can be wrong.
No, I hear you.
Marge, I'll double check some more stuff here in the chat. Marge asks, when will the Rafi storyline merge with the main story? I think probably next week, now that we have Worf involved. We'll be getting closer every episode.
It'll be interesting to see how they do it.
She's been undercover for months, so it is possible that things were stolen months ago, or she's been doing other projects. Who knows? Like, maybe there was like talk of something happening and then it happened. I am not sure. They haven't given us like concrete dates that I've been able to notice. I'm sure there's a screen somewhere with a tiny screen cap that I could find.
Okay, get on it, Myrriah.
I'll work on it. I'll go screen by screen.
Nicole says, I wonder how much these ships cost to make. No one seems to bat an eye at how often they get effed up.
Nicole,
I mean, that's military budgets, friend. Military budgets. Nicole, also, same thing I said earlier, was Beverly on the ship when Jack bribed the Rangers? That's what I wanted to know. And that's why I wish, if this was happening, like, was she doing something else? Then she came back and she's like, what are you doing? You're going to get us in trouble. Like, I want to know more about like what their relationship is.
Myrriah, that point that you made, I think that's where my struggle is, right? Is that I don't have any Jack backstory. They had an opportunity to give us a little bit about Jack to really help us feel a certain way, right? Like I saw the whole scene with him and the Finvis Rangers or whatnot. I didn't buy any of it. Like none of it
Hmm.
really connected. Like if they had expanded it out so that I saw, a little orphan child getting medicine that they needed, then maybe at that point I've been like, okay, this is ultimately a good dude, right? But what I really saw is him bribing a cop for who knows what, right? And I'm kind of like, all right. I think there was, and to your point, having him really interact with somebody that we already know and love,
Mhm.
like Beverly Crusher, lends the credibility from them. Like right now, you're just telling me that, like, I'm not even having not really seen them interact because we still haven't seen them interact.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
Chibi does bring up that, like, he says she taught him everything he knows, blah, blah, blah. But there's a difference to me and someone I don't know telling me something, and I don't know if it's true or not. Also, like, show, don't tell. Let me see their relationship. Like, I
Exactly.
need to see it to know it for myself.
Right. Like he's just some dude to me right now. And I'm trying to trust you, but you haven't given me one single reason to trust you.
I mean, I find him charming already. Like, he's already like got plus points in my docket here, but I'm like, I would have loved to have seen a scene with him and Beverly prior to her, like, giving. What did y'all think of we don't even need to speak the words for me to for us to know what we need to know between Picard and Crusher?
I loved it. I mean, I think it's a bold choice. It's bold for television. Like it's a
Mhm.
and the only problem with it in this is that we all know. like the moment Riker says it, like that's says
Mhm.
it explicitly. I think we all suspect it since they broke up 20 years ago and the kid looks 20 or look Myrriah's age.
Thank you.
And so like we all suspected it. So like it doesn't have the same like gravitas as it would in its absence, like where because people are just explicitly saying it. But I think like having her say it like Jean-Luc, Jack is your son would have been
I
like
I
so
I don't
laughable.
Yeah, I don't need like a whole line. I think I just wanted like Beverly said nothing this whole episode. So I think I just needed her to be like, "Yes, John Luke." I don't need like it's your son. I just need her to look at him and be like, "Yes."
See, I didn't need it. But look, I am a admitted, confessed, hopeless romantic. I am. And I look at Jean-Luc and Beverly, and every time you tell me that they've tried to get together and it hasn't worked, I'm still here for that romance. I'm here for the golden age romance. I still want it. I still want them to have feelings and emotion and try and figure this out and make it work in their late 60s. I know I'm goofy, but I love
I
it.
mean, yeah.
And so what I saw was I saw her look at this person who she has such a connection with, that even though it's been 20-ish years, that they can look at each other across the room and he knows everything she's saying in a glance. Yeah, I'm gonna say that I'll admit that sign me up for that. You got me. You got me with that. You got me with that. I'll
Mm.
be honest.
What do you think about Laris in this situation
It's
then?
really,
I forgot all about Lars. I mean, I
Mm.
love Lars. I love Lars.
I think they wanted you to forget all about Laris in that moment.
Listen, I love Lars, but I told you in the episode when she leaned in and hugged him and did that little pat on, on the shoulder, that was her saying, holla. Like,
like
so long, buddy.
I don't mean to be this way about it, but like, is it a surprise that that Picard ends up alone? He's just so rigid. Do you think he'd be good in relationship? Silence. Silence. I'm just saying, like, like
I mean,
it's the same.
I think here's the
I got
thing.
distracted by something in the chat. That wasn't with the silence. Was
Yeah, I was
Um,
like, unfortunately, something like not great
Yeah.
happened to one of our regulars, so we're very sorry that happened.
Just glad you're okay, man.
yeah.
Just glad you're
I'm
okay.
glad you're okay. But what I was going to say is that I think in our society, and I think it's a universal thing, and that's why it's in all shows too, right? Is there's so much emphasis on romantic love, and I will say, Picard obviously has deep relationships with a lot of people across the series, but I think it's interesting that they've kind of made a point to say he's disconnected from almost everyone in the last 20 years. And so I don't think he's good at relationships.
yeah, I don't think like Kirk was the same way. Like there's this, and in a way, like Janeway was this way. Like
Right.
there's this like kind of curse of being a good captain costs
It's like
you.
Pike is also not great at it either,
Exactly. Like it's all like it's mission before happiness.
Mhm.
And
Do you think it's possible to be a good captain and to maintain relationships?
Cisco seemed to have a shot a couple times.
Yeah.
But with Cisco, two things with Cisco. He started out as like a lieutenant, like a commander, right? He didn't start off as a captain, and then he went to the wormhole aliens and left his newborn kid by.
Listen,
I love Cisco.
Listen, Riker has seemed to, up until this very moment, make it work.
Does he?
I know. I am wondering what this the problems in the marriage that we've been seeing kind of teased out here.
And mind you, it took Riker like near 10 years to propose to Troy. And that was gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, like like I do not know. Is there something about Starfleet captain chair that makes you just bad at relationships? I don't know. I do imagine there's this aspect where being away on missions is too much, and like in that episode where like Picard met was it Darren? I can't Commander Darren, where he was really into her, and then ultimately like she almost died, and so he wound up going like, well, you have to leave my ship now or quit to hang out with me.
Listen, Paul, to answer your question, no, I don't think he's good at relationships, but that has nothing to do with my wanting it to happen and be successful.
Clyde, that's fair. That's fair.
That's the hopeless part of being a hopeless romantic. You're really hoping for the success. Like I understand who I am.
I
I'm
do
not
like
saying
that
it makes sense.
That's fair.
I was going to just say, I think it's interesting. I was like racking my brain, and I know there's other examples, but like of recent Trek and things that I can pull out. I like that right now our stablest relationship is Stamets and
yeah, what's his name?
Wilson Cruz.
Yeah.
Culber, Stamets and Culber. Sorry, guys. It's like when you have so many, I was like, I have all the Picard names in my brain right now. You have to like shift, control, alt, delete.
Like their relationship is so strong that it survived the death of one of them.
Exactly. So here's what I'm just saying. Only gay relationships work in space. So that means if that logic is true, Rafi and Seven are back together by the end of this season, baby.
Well, I don't know. Neither of them were in the captain's chair. That's my only thing. So maybe being a red shirt, like in the old days, red shirt means you just died, and now a red shirt it means like you can't have a relationship.
I prefer my theory.
No.
Only gays in space get love and happiness.
Gays in space. Yeah, that's right. Hashtag Star Trek Pod. Gays in space.
No, we'll see. But I mean, I think I like the fact that we've got some reveals, right? Like they could have dragged. and drug this whole like who is Rafi's handler, and
Yeah, I'm glad it's quick.
yeah, like it's quick. I think that has I like that because now we get to move along, and it's kind of like who's next? Who's the next reveal in the episode? Any ideas? Who do you think we see next?
I feel like it's got to be either Troy or Geordi would be my theory. What about y'all?
Oh, you know my pick. Who's my pick, guys?
Lore.
Oh, there we go.
I was like, I like how in unison we were there, Clyde. 1, 2, 3, lore.
not just in timing, but in tone.
Lore.
I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Geordi.
Okay.
Solid choice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm wrong, but I mean, I think it's possible.
You never know. All right, guys. Anything else you want to talk about with this particular episode?
I think we hashed it out. Like I think
I was like, right now our episode's technically longer than the episode, so I think we.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a couple quick things. One, part of me still trying to figure out: are they setting us up for something else? Not from a plot standpoint, but like
series standpoint.
From a series standpoint, like will this spawn another show? And it's tough because you've got a whole bridge crew, and outside of LaForge, Crash LaForge, I can't tell you one person's name because it's not really about them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying, and please, I'm not ready for a Jack Crusher spinoff. I'm just not there. But I'm trying to just get a sense of what else. Now, it sounds like there are a lot of people here, I'm not one of them, that might sign up for a Shaw spinoff, but I'm not that guy.
What if it's a Vedic spinoff? Like it can go completely anti, like, here's how like villains work in like, in Star Trek times.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that. I still am pushing. I think Paramount needs to have a Klingon show, but that's just
Klingon Game of Thrones.
Yes, I want it. Ooh. I need it. I need all the family drama.
Klingon, the Way of Honor. Boom.
Perfect. All right, Paul, we'll start writing that this weekend.
You had me at Batleth.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm still trucking along. I can't wait to see what happens next week. So far, I'm pretty happy with the series. So I'm ready to stick out the ride.
I'm all in.
All in. Ready for the poker game, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. We will be back again next week, same time, same place, talking about Picard. We'll be here for the live stream, or you can listen to the audio episodes to this podcast. You can find them on Apple, Spotify, and more, StarTrekPod.co. You can also find links to our Patreon there. Also, if you all listen to the audio, we would love if you can give us a review on Apple Podcasts. We would appreciate that. Clyde, where can people find us on Twitter?
You can find us at Star Trek Pod. Thank you to Karen, who runs and holds down our Twitter. What's up, Karen?
Thank you, Karen. We appreciate you. And we've got some fun, like happy birthday tweets. It was Jerry Ryan and Celia Gooding's birthdays this week. There's some fun stuff on our Twitter feed. You should go check it out. And we will see you all next time here on Star Trek Discovery Pod. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.
Bye.